It wasn't. That's when it started. It's just started just now. It has a countdown. I was telling you that the countdown was starting. That was your warning.
That was my warning.
That was your 10-second warning.
I appreciate that.
Morning. Hello. How's everyone doing? Better late than never.
Whose fault could it be?
I don't know. Hey, I never catch you on Book Club Live. I'm always on YouTube. How nice. Oh, it's nice to see you in this one rather than there. Hey, Becca. Hey, Abby. Hey, Allie. Well, I'm glad that this time worked for you to jump on. And I'm glad that you were able to catch up. That's very cool. Oh, no. That's really sad, Snaky. I don't know why. I'm at Secret Boyfriend's house. That's why the background looks different. Hey, Shira. Hey. Hey, hey, hey. We are on chapter 19. Can you believe it? We are almost done with this book. This is called... That's true, Allie. Hey. This is called An Icy Trade.
The power went out last night.
What?
I'm sorry.
You think the power went out?
Yeah, it was off.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, this is off too. Weird.
Oh, what's off?
Oh, there's no lights on all those things that usually have lights, right?
What things usually have lights?
Don't all your devices, they usually have lights?
I don't know.
Weird. I wonder how much further back in time the alarm clock is sitting on now. We already lost an hour.
Yeah. Where else is? The weird thing is usually when power goes out, these blink. I guess it wasn't out long enough.
Maybe it just flashed.
Yeah. Still. Better reopen everything. Hi, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I'm on a laptop and comment window says, say something nice. Don't tell me what to do. That's very funny, Becca. Okay, we're going to read chapter 19, An Icy Trade. The soldiers shivered in the freezing wind. The elements had grown too harsh for their horses, so they were left behind, and the soldiers were forced to trek through the thick snow on foot. For hours and hours, they climbed higher and higher into the steep mountains of the north without a disclosed destination or an anticipated time of arrival. How much further? General Marquis demanded. Once we see the lights, we'll know we've arrived, the masked man called to the men behind him. A unit that started out as 20 Grande Armée soldiers had been reduced to less than a dozen. The soldiers were dropping like flies as the masked man led them through the cold. Every few hundred yards, a soldier would faint from the elements and disappear into the snow. They were ordered to keep moving and They were ordered to keep moving and the fallen were left behind. We barely just started, Amanda, like half a page. Don't even stress. General Marquis and Colonel Baton wore thick coats over their uniforms as they traveled, and though the withering soldiers behind them were given little to shield themselves from the cold, they were scolded for slowing down the expedition. The masked man had only been given a raggedy old blanket to stay warm, but he still moved more agilely than the rest of them. He had braved these mountains many times before. You certainly don't handle the cold very well, the masked man chuckled at them. I'm starting to lose my patience, the general threatened. Don't fret, General, we're almost there, the masked man assured him. Soon the northern lights he had described came into view. They illuminated the dark sky in bright shades of green and circled above the glaciers ahead. By the time they reached the glacier, the unit had been reduced to 6 men, including the general and Colonel Baton. The masked man led the remaining men through an opening between 2 glaciers and into an enormous, icy maze. They zigzagged between the glaciers and eventually stepped into a wider crater. "Gentlemen, welcome to the Snow Queen's lair," the masked man announced. "Oh, Rosie, I hope you feel better." The soldiers gazed around at the crater in bewilderment. 7 pillars of ice surrounded the crater, and a frozen lake acted as the floor. A frozen waterfall spilled in from the mountains above and flowed around a giant icy throne. The Snow Queen sat on the throne with her faithful polar bears, one sitting on either side of her. She wore a large white fur coat and a snowflake crown. A cloth was wrapped over her empty eye sockets. The Snow Queen and the polar bears were eerily quiet, as if they had been waiting for the soldiers to arrive. "The masked man has returned again," the Snow Queen said in her raspy, crackling voice. "We've been expecting you." "Hello, Your Majesty," the masked man said and gave a shallow bow. "It's been a very long time, but you look as frigid as ever." "Compliments will get you nowhere," the Snow Queen said. "If it's a trade you come to make, you know what I want in return." "No, I understand," the masked man said. "The last time I was here, you made it perfectly clear what you wanted in exchange for the item of interest, and with great pleasure I have returned with the means to finally make that trade." The general suddenly grew very tense. "You never said anything about a trade," he sneered. The masked man gestured for him to remain calm. "Your Majesty, this is General Marquis of the Grand Armée," he introduced. "I know who he is," the Snow Queen snapped. "I prophesied the general and his armée entering this world long before you were born." Something about this was very unsettling to the general, and he motioned for the soldiers to stand alert. But the masked man assured him this was good news. "Splendid," he said. "Then you know that in exchange for the dragon egg, he can provide you with what you've always wanted." "Capable he may be, but faithful to keeping his end of the bargain, I've yet to see." "Hey, Shelley, how's London?" the Snow Queen said. "The future is filled with many certainties and many uncertainties. For the general, long ago, I foresaw him and his armée sweeping across the land, conquering everything in their path, but I do not see him rising against the fairies. If he wishes to claim this world, he'll need my trust in the deal we're about to make." "And what exactly is the deal?" the general asked, stepping closer to her. The Snow Queen smiled. Her jagged teeth were exposed. "Many years ago, I was the ruler of the Northern Kingdom until my throne was stolen from me. If the general wants my dragon egg, he can conquer this world indeed. He must promise to give me back the Northern Kingdom when he succeeds." This was news to the general, and it infuriated him. "Excuse me for a moment, your coldness," he said to the Snow Queen, and he grabbed the masked man by the lapel and threw him against a pillar at the side of the crater. "You never mentioned anything about the trade," he whispered. "General, you have to trust me," the masked man whispered back. "This is the only way you can win the war. Make this trade with the Snow Queen, and it won't matter what she's promised in return. Once you have the dragon egg in your power, you'll be unstoppable. You can obliterate her and do anything your way." "Thank you." "Oh, that looks so good. Look at this little fluffy brush. Oh, thank you, thank you." So you guys want to laugh real quick before I keep reading? You should get bao buns. My mom just texted my sister and brother and I saw the text pop up over this live, and the text message has a picture of her holding her hand up with pink gloves, like the ones that I wear when I make slime. And it says, "Look, guys, my new job has Barbie gloves." That's Mom.
Very cute.
The general thought it over, but the anger never left his eyes. "Very well," he said. He faced the Snow Queen. "If you supply me with a dragon egg now, when we take over the world, you have my word that the North shall be yours again." A deep and raspy celebratory laugh erupted out of the Snow Queen's mouth. "Music to my ears," she said. "Your offer is accepted, but it comes with a warning. I foresee nothing but greatness for you if you keep your end of the bargain, but if you betray me, I foresee your quest ending with a scorching demise." The general's left eye started to twitch. Clearly the Snow Queen was trying to trick him with the visions that she hadn't seen. He quickly glanced at the masked man who silently urged him to proceed. "Understood," he said. "We have a deal." The soldiers felt a rumble beneath them. They looked through the ice under their feet and saw bubbles appear as something large and round slowly floated towards them from the depths of the lake. A dragon egg surfaced and bobbed against the ice below the frozen lake. General Marquis turned his men. "Don't just stand there. Retrieve it," he ordered. The soldiers went to the dragon egg. They beat the ice above it back with their rifles. The ice began to break as the general and Colonel Baton stood away from it. One of the soldiers fell through the crackling ice into the freezing water underneath. The Snow Queen laughed, wildly amused by their attempts to get the egg. The man's fall created a huge hole in the ice, and the dragon egg soon drifted into it and floated to a reaching distance. "No one move," the masked man yelled, and the 2 remaining soldiers stood still. He carefully got to his hands and knees and slid across the icy floor and pulled the dragon egg out of the cold. "Cold, cold," he shrieked. He juggled the egg back and forth between his hands. Wrapped in a raggedy blanket, the egg was so cold it burned his hands from a touch. The dragon egg was twice the size of the masked man's head. It was the shape of a regular egg, but it was covered with a black shell, the same texture as coal. Cracks the egg had received over the years were covered in gold to preserve it, like a rotting tooth. The masked man stared down proudly at the egg as if he were holding his own firstborn child. He had dreamed about this moment for a very long time. General Marquis promptly approached him and took the egg out of his hands. "Wonderful," he said, and he stared down at the egg with wide, inquisitive eyes, if he were looking into a crystal ball, as if to see his future. "Colonel Baton, shoot the masked man. His services are no longer needed." I didn't see that coming. Colonel Baton retrieved a pistol from the inside of his coat and aimed it at the masked man. "Whoa, whoa, whoa," the masked man said and raised his hands. "You can't kill me. You still need me." "We have acquired the egg. We'll not waste another moment on your nonsense," the general said and nodded for the colonel to fire at will. "But someone's got to take care of the egg, and I doubt you or any of your men are properly trained how to hatch and raise a dragon," the masked man said. "And what makes you an expert?" the general said spitefully. "I've spent years trying to get my hands on this egg," the masked man said. "I know everything there is to know about dragons. We have to get the egg into something very hot. The hotter the environment, the faster and stronger the dragon will go. And I have a very hot place in mind if we're willing to work together." A noise came out of General Marquis that was a half-grunt, half-sigh. He had been looking forward to getting rid of the masked man since they left the prison, but now he would have to wait a little longer. He shook his head at Baton, and the pistol was put away. "It seems the masked man has proven himself useful again," the general said. "You may stay alive long enough to properly hatch and raise the dragon for me. Now escort us out of these icy mountains before you cause my irritation to trump the need for efficiency." General Marquis glared at him and then headed towards the opening of the crater that they had entered from. Colonel Baton and the remaining 2 soldiers followed him. The masked man rubbed his chest to keep calm. His heart was beating fast. He would have to keep himself useful as possible in the coming days if he wanted to save his life. "Thank you, your shiveringness," the masked man said to the Snow Queen. He bowed and quickly caught up with the rest of his party. As soon as he and the soldiers were gone, another raspy laugh erupted from the Snow Queen and echoed through the cavern. "What do you find so amusing, my grace?" the polar bear asked her to the left. A malicious smirk grew on the Snow Queen's face. "I suddenly foresee something very certain in the forthcoming days of our masked friend." "What did your highness see?" the polar bear to her right asked. "His mask has successfully concealed who he is for an impressive length of time. But by the time this week is up, his worst fear will be realized when his identity is revealed to the person he most wishes to keep it a secret from." What? The masked man is keeping his identity a secret from someone we know, I'm sure. That was a really short chapter, but that's probably for the best because we got a late start and we have Roll for Slime tonight, so I got to get going and get a lot more work done before Roll for Slime. But we will have Roll for Slime tonight. We're going to finish everyone who's left from the Patreon, and then all we'll have left to do is restock stuff. I will, Shelly. And I will see you all tonight, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Bye, guys.